So Kyle Tucker lost his arbitration case. It sucks for Kyle Tucker. I thought 7.5 was a bit high for him.
Yeah.
Everything I had seen projected was 5.6, 5.5, 5.6, 5.9.
You
in
had
that
him
neighborhood.
losing. You made him the underdog.
Yeah. He was the underdog. He was going to lose that fight. But that's okay because it looks like there are actual talks going on, and there are actual talks going on with other players as well, which is nice. You know, the Astros ponied up for Bregman well before they had to. Altuve got has gotten 2 extensions. Jordan got a 6-year deal long before he had to. So those were awfully nice. And now we got Bregman. You know, Altuve and Bregman are coming up. And actually, Dana Brown has said, hey, we're working on getting both of those guys extended. Here is, and listen, Dana Brown comes from a place where they weren't scared. They've got players tied up in Atlanta. If they think you're good, Atlanta's going to tie you up and make sure that you're not going anywhere. And Jim Crane has been good about he's just anti long-term extensions. That's
right.
All. And you know what? So you're going to lose some guys. The guys want long-term security. They want that big money deal. They want that prestige of being the highest paid at their position. All of those. Garrett Cole wasn't going to stay. Look at Verlander's the highest paid guy now. Carlos Correa was looking for $300 million. George Springer was looking. They offered George Springer $25 a year, and he didn't want it because they wouldn't go on big years. But Dana Brown maybe brings a different attitude, and maybe Jim Crane might start to change his attitude toward it.
One of the things you guys will find out about me is that I'm going to be aggressive, right? And I think the time you have to evaluate players, and you have to say to yourself, do I see this player as part of the franchise, and can he make a difference? Once you make that decision, I think you owe it to the fan base to try to go after them, to lock the player up so your players are not walking out the door and your team falls off the cliff. So that's part about what I'll be doing, and that's part of what we did in Atlanta. And I thought we were really good at it because we gave out a lot of years. Now, there's risk to doing that, but you have to do your homework. You have to find out about the makeup. You have to find out how much this guy loves the game. And, you know, I've been around the game, like I said, for 33 years, and I think I'm a pretty good judge of character in terms of people who are really playing this game, and they love it, and they love being here.
So I'll say this. You know, just listening to him, he's like a GM you would hear in football. Talks about the makeup, how much they love the game.
Yeah.
You know, he sounds like a guy who would be in football, and it's a very different – we don't hear those things from the analytics-driven side. Now, what he said is true. I don't care that people have walked out the door and you haven't fallen off the cliff. You will at some point because it's impossible to continue a run of minor league success stories and guys playing well over their expectations like Pena did.
What organization has lost the players that the Astros have lost and not only continue to win at the highest level?
This is highly unusual,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons they've been able to succeed is a horrific trade from the Dodgers where we got Jordan. You know, that one, the willingness of the team to stick with Kyle Tucker and not deal him away, and then just incredible scouting for international pitchers for cheap. I mean, that's how it happened. And you had a Justin Verlander trade. I don't want to say fall in your lap, but he wasn't getting traded that year. It wasn't until the post-trade deadline, which you don't see. You're not going to see that anymore. Like, you couldn't get a Justin Verlander. Now they've changed it. The trade deadline's a trade deadline. You don't have one of these where everyone can, you know, Justin Verlander cleared through waivers that year, which is what you had to do. There could be no claims because of, you know, the amount of money on the contract, and everyone said, no, we're not going to claim Justin Verlander as a rental. And what happened was, you know, the Astros were lucky enough to
and then give up the compensation for him too.
Yeah, and you had to give up the compensation. Yeah. So you've had a lot of things fall right for the Astros to help extend this, and you eventually will fall off a cliff if you keep letting this happen. It's going to happen because you'll get into a dry run where you don't draft well, or somebody, you know, a Forrest Whitley situation happens with Corey Lee, and with, when I say that, I mean a guy doesn't turn out to be the player, or, you know, the guys they drafted this year. Eventually it will catch up with you. It does with everybody. So you can't, so some of these guys you got to lock up. Kyle Tucker's actually one of those guys you got to lock up. But I would also ask you this, John, like, are we assuming that Jim Crane just sat and said, well, if you guys don't think we should sign him long term, you know, clearly, and you even said maybe Jim will think differently, because Jim Crane is the one who decides whether or not they're going to give a long-term
Every
deal.
owner does.
Well, you think Dana Brown can convince him of that?
I think Dana might be able to maybe sway him a little bit in the direction of the way that the Braves are doing it. Listen, the Braves gave. I think Austin Riley is stupid. He got a $212 million deal for 10 years. He's going to regret that. And this is why I think. And you know what? Who else is going to regret it? Jordan's going to regret in the last couple of years of his deal. He's going to go. He's going to regret it. You know who's going to regret it? Fernando Tatis. A 14-year deal for $23 million a year.
You can't regret it when it's all guaranteed and you don't even and you do the crazy stuff he does.
Except at the end of that deal, when you're making your money and you're seeing other
I would
guys,
argue this.
especially in 10 years. You know where that money's going to be?
Yeah, but I would argue this. Based on what we've seen the last 2 years, I'm not sure Fernando Tatis is going to be a top player in 8 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll
he's got to grow up. That guy was he got injured falling off of racing on a motorcycle.
I know. Well, but that maybe he will. I mean, if he matures and he
they may. Who may regret it, or the Padres may regret it. They gave him that much guaranteed.
And that's what Jim Crane is saying. I ain't doing that. You know what?
And Dana
I'm not
said
going
that
to
too.
because every 10-year deal up until now, there's some of these 10-year deals are going to start to work out. They're going to start to work out for the teams.
We're
but
still
none
waiting.
of them have. None of them have so far. So
no, we're still waiting. That's hard to have a guy have a 10-year run. You got to either not be injured or not have down years, and you're going to. I think successful means 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
if you really want to know the truth.
Yeah, at the end of the deal, you know that. Look at Pujols. His Pujols was terrible for about 4 years, and then then after that last year, look what he did.
He wasn't on that. He wasn't on that deal.
He was on this deal.
No.
Anyway,
he wasn't with the Angels, is what I'm saying.
Oh.
That Angels deal was a disaster.
Oh yeah.
What was that noise we went?
Well, it was some kind of something in the butt area.
He was on this deal.
No. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I can't do a syringe noise really well.
Oh, that was syringe.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how those sound. Right. Anyway, so but here's the deal. It looks like Cristian Javier is coming close to a deal.
Yeah,
a long-term deal. Cristian
Javier,
Javier, Altuve,
the Latin
Bregman,
players
extended.
will agree on a long-term deal because you come from no money and you get guaranteed money. Like your family is set. How hard would that be if somebody's offering? I don't come from money. If somebody's offering me, like, how hard is that?
Yeah.
To bet on yourself for that long.
$100 million. It's Jordan said $100 million. Done.
Yeah, my family, like, I come from Cuba.
Yeah. Cuba, I could feed the whole country with this.
I was in Cuba. Do you know what Cuba is rough when it comes to the financial stuff?
So, yeah, Cristian Javier, I don't know what it's going to take for Fromber, but that would be not – I think you're probably – Fromber's probably going, I'm going to make some big money. But, again, nobody respects Fromber nearly as much because he's not that overpowering guy, yet he is one of the best pitchers in baseball. So that's a difficult contract deal because he doesn't hit all of those metrics that you need with spin rate and strikeout and swing and miss and all of that stuff. So that's going to be a more difficult deal. Javier just overpowers you. I'm hoping – well, here's the deal is I'm hoping Javier proves this year that he is a star. Because Javier last year was still talking – we're still talking about putting him back in the bullpen. He was still the guy that was probably going to flip back and forth to the bullpen if they didn't have the injury. If they, if everything, what are you going to do when everybody's back? You got a 6-man rotation. Well, Javier's got to go. What? Javier? Well, we'll find out if he's a long-term every fifth day starter this year,
or just a flash guy. I think his stuff says long-term every day, but there's also. Something we never talk about is that you also have to – I mean, we saw it with Jose Lima. Lima was a supremely confident player. At some point, Lima got – it got to Lima's head a little bit in terms of him being a star. And the one thing you can't handicap is how players with more money, more access to stardom, like how they will handle
Lima's
stardom.
Personality, though. You can't put that on anybody else.
You could see that coming. But how do you handle stardom? How do you handle – the attention? How do you handle the money? That's something in every sport, every walk of life. I mean, people get different friends. They get, you know what I mean? Anybody who comes into a lot more money and their status elevates, how do you handle it? That's in business and life and anybody. Well, the same would be true with a young guy in sports. So far, it has not been an issue for Astros. We have not heard, at least, that anybody has become, an issue from a personality standpoint. And that's one thing you want to make sure continues to happen with Kyle Tucker, if he gets his, Jordan, with any of their young, Cristian Javier, any young star players that the Astros have been so lucky to have the personalities all fit and great players walk out and they still succeed. Like, this is really against this runs against all elements of history.
Yes.
It doesn't happen historically.
Nope.